Fanalysis uses the analytics of fantasy football with the latest betting trends, and to help us break it down is a sports investment analyst from Pickswise, Jared Smith. Jared, let's take a look at the Jets game. They're playing Atlanta in London. The Jets are getting a field goal here, so how do you see this?
Well, I'll be honest. To me, it's another Zach Wilson feast game. We've seen some famine games against really good defenses. Now we get another feast game. Titans defense, very poor last week. You saw the flashes of brilliance. The upside was Zach Wilson making throws on the run. He dazzled with some of those throws deep down the field. I think he's going to see a similar coverage this week with a very soft Atlanta secondary. On the other side, we're starting to see some injury issues, or maybe they're not injury issues, personnel issues, I would call them, with the Falcons on offense. Calvin Ridley not making the trip. Russell Gage not making the trip. Sounds a lot like last week, right, Steve?
Yeah.
With A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. So I think the Jets are kind of maybe getting the luck of the injury is starting to, maybe favor them just a little bit. The way that the NFL bounces the ball, it's an oblong-shaped ball. It's not round. Sometimes it bounces in different directions. Maybe things are starting to bounce in the Jets' favor. I think taking 3, if you can find 3 in the hook, that's tremendous. But I think the Jets are a live dog again this week against the soft Falcons defense on the road across the pond. Should be a fun game.
Well, and that's just it, too, because, I mean, look, you can't be thrown into a deeper, more shark-infested waters of the NFL than starting the season against 3 of the top most elite defenses in the NFL. Zach Wilson cut his teeth against those best defenses, and now he's ramping it back against, last week was the 29th ranked defense, this week another one of the lower tier defenses in the Atlanta Falcons, and it just seems like things are pointing towards Zach Wilson building off of what he did last week.
And I know you guys cover the Jets very closely. The emotional moment in the locker room with Robert Saleh, to me, that struck me very close to home. As we know, we've discussed, I'm a big Jets fan. I think those types of emotional moments do carry over. And now you get a team-building exercise where you travel in a very unique setting to a new country, to a new place, and you get to continue that camaraderie. Toughness, maybe you want to question the talent and the scheme, but toughness and heart, I don't think the Jets are going to be lacking in those categories ever. I question those categories for the Falcons. We've seen them cough up leads. We've seen, it just happened last week, we've seen them struggle in the heart hustle moments to really perform and overachieve. I think the Jets are one of those teams that will overachieve in those spots. I like them this week. I think they get a win and continue some momentum from last week.
You also like another play here. The over-under is at 46. Which side of the ledger are you looking at?
I mean, I think this total is right. Now, when you look at the weather in London, that can be a factor. You gave a great nugget that I don't want to steal about games being played at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That is also very prevalent, too, because the track, the pitch, all of those things matter when you're in a new environment. But if the weather checks out in jolly old London on Sunday morning and this track is playing fast, I could see some points in this game. The Falcons defense is poor. The Jets are very aggressive on both sides. And again, I think that all gas, no break mentality. And if you see it drift down at all towards that key total of 44 that we talk about because of the Calvin Ridley news, I've already seen it gone down a point. I think it settles around 45, but I think that's still an okay spot to fire away on the over.
I mean, the Jets had 3 chunk plays last week of 25 or more yards, and the Falcons are ranked number 28th in the most chunk plays given up so far this year. So I would expect to see Corey Davis going deep, Keelan Cole going deep, and let's see what happens when he rolls out and fires those 50-yard bombs out there. All right, as for the Giants, in Dallas, big divisional matchup here. The line is a touchdown, and it's moving. Are you paying close attention to this movement here?
Yes, and we love to talk about, maybe not look into a whole lot, but we like to observe the reverse line movement. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes when it does happen, it's very subtle. This one was not subtle. This one, in my eyes, was very overt, and it was screaming at me to look at the Giants a lot harder. Everyone watched what the Cowboys did to a very good Panthers defense on Sunday. Maybe it's not as good as it was billed, but they still scored 36 points. And Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, the offense looked very good, especially the offensive line, and Dak continues to look very comfortable. Considering how public of a team the Cowboys are and how maybe, I don't want to call it fluky, but it certainly wasn't a run-of-the-mill win for the Giants in New Orleans. They gutted and gritted themselves every point. They needed every second on the clock, and then they needed to win a coin flip in overtime to not give the Saints the ball first in order to win that game. So if you look at the narrative coming into this game, it should be very positive for Dallas. And I would say maybe positive, but definitely not as positive, somewhat neutral, maybe lucky for the Giants. Well, the line's telling you that the Giants are the better team in this spot because it opened 8.5 and we're seeing it going all the way down to 7. So then I was like, okay, well, that raises a red flag for me. Let's look at the Giants more and let's try to find out why it's moving against Dallas and towards New York. Well, net yards per play, the Giants are positive, the Cowboys are flat. That's because Dallas's defense has really struggled this year. They've given up a lot of yards. Hasn't always equated to points, but they've given up some of the most yards per play, some of the worst yards per play numbers in the league this year. Then I look at Daniel Jones, and I see some of the quarterbacks that he has a higher adjusted QBR than. Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, that shouldn't surprise you. Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. I mean, those are elite quarterbacks, top picks, guys that have won Super Bowls, MVPs. To me, those are guys that Daniel Jones, in your mind, he's not playing better than them. But he is. The numbers say that he is. So I think Daniel Jones, with the Saquon Barkley resurgence, he looked great last week. I think Kadarius Toney's looked good. You're giving me 7 points with the similar defense and a similar net yards per play numbers with a quarterback that's playing on a similar plane to Dak Prescott. I will take the points in that matchup all day long, especially if it's the full 7.
The one caveat, and I know that Daniel Jones has done such a great job this year of taking care of the football. That's something that he's been harping on this entire offseason. We've seen that coming to fruition here. But this is also a Cowboys defense that has 10 takeaways. They are second in takeaways in the NFL this year. They give up a number of yards, so it's a risk-reward defense, and he's going to be going up against cornerback Diggs, who is the defensive player of the week, the defensive player of the month, actually. He's got 5 interceptions through 4 games. You know, you got to throw away from number 7 there, right?
Those are the ball hawks of the defense. I can't, when I was looking at this game at first glance, I was struggling to find reasons to back the Giants, but the line movement really made me dig deep. And that's to me the best indicator for line movement. Don't use it as gospel, but use it as an indicator light. Like when you're, low tire flashing light comes on your car, you're like, hey, maybe I should check the tires. If the line movement reverses like it has in this game and gets back to that key number with all the public sentiment on Dallas, something's going on underneath the hood. And it is Dallas, I think, struggling to stop it and maybe getting lucky with some of these turnovers that maybe isn't sustainable. And Daniel Jones's play, I think, is better than the average person thinks right now.
Well, let me tell you what, they are definitely going to try to get the running game going, or as they say, they're going to check the oil for the Dallas run defense to see whether or not they can run against them. All right, that's how he sees both the Jets and the Giants games. Make sure you check out our other segment on his top plays of the week. For Jared Smith of Pickswise, I'm Steve Overmyer. This is Fanalysis.